Good evening, sci-fi movie nerds, and welcome to another episode of the Sci-Fi Movie Guy Show. My name is Mike, and this is weekly show number 27. So we're going to get started as we always do with Star Wars news. And our first story today is, in a huge write-up of Rogue One in the latest issue of Entertainment Weekly, head of Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy was asked if there would be another trilogy of saga films after Star Wars Episode 9, or if the Star Wars universe could exist on Star Wars story anthology films alone. That's a conversation going on right now, too, Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy says. I have to honestly tell you, could we do nothing with standalones? Sure, but I don't know. We are looking at all of that. Gauging audience reaction to Rogue One will be critical as Lucasfilm evaluates how different it can get with these standalone films from tradition of the trilogy or saga films. So, you know what? I completely understand what they're doing here. Rogue One is coming out in less than 3 weeks, which I'm so excited about. But they don't want to make any plans yet. They've still got Star Wars 8 and 9. 8's already done filming and they're in editing. They're just starting to film 9, I think, right away. So they've got some time to decide. They've probably got tons of stories in mind. And I'm hearing a lot of different chatter through some of my connections. One is that yes, they're going to do saga films, but they're going to wait 6 or 7 years so that the actors have a chance to get a little older. They can, have a different story arc later on. I'm also hearing that, no, it's going to pick up right where it left off, and they're going to do a saga film every 2 years with an anthology in the middle. I personally hope we get some time in between the sagas, and that really gives us a chance to have some really great anthology films, some Obi-Wan films, Boba Fett film, Han Solo film is coming already, we know that, and there's just so many stories to tell, like Knights of the Old Republic. So I hope we get a whole bunch of standalone anthology films and a little bit of a break from the sagas, just so the anticipation can build up again for the saga films. So that's my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you just want to keep having saga films every 2 years, or do you want to break like I do? So let's get into our next story. The idea of Star Wars standalone movies came from George Lucas himself before handing off the company to Kennedy and selling Lucasfilm to the Walt Disney Company. George talked to me about doing this when I first came on board, Kathleen said. He had often thought about doing it, and he had actually written down 3 or 4 thoughts and ideas, directions you could go. Obviously, inside the mythology, there were lots of opportunities, so that was the first conversation I had. She wouldn't specify the ideas he had in mind, but said a young Han Solo movie wasn't among them. The concept for Rogue One came from John Knoll, a legendary visual effects supervisor from ILM. No, we certainly talked about origin-type stories, but we didn't get into the specifics of that, Kennedy said. We talked a lot about the Jedi and the foundational ideas that George had thought about when he was creating mythology. It was sort of a spitballing ideas. The key question Rogue One will answer is, can a movie full of new characters engage fans as much as the classic ones? So, I see where they're going with this. I mean, we had new characters in The Force Awakens, but we also had Luke, Han, Leia, Chewbacca, R2-D2, C-3PO. So there was that very familiar tone to the Star Wars The Force Awakens. But we got introduced to all these new characters, and the Star Wars fans embraced them wholly. I mean, Rey is just incredible. Finn, Poe Dameron, BB-8, they were all so cool. So I think they already know the answer to that question, that yes, Star Wars fans will embrace well-written characters with a great script and great actors, but they won't settle for a B movie. So Disney doesn't make B movies usually, so I'm not worried about that. So I think it's really cool that Lucas was thinking about doing this and planning on doing this, and that when Disney and Kathleen Kennedy took over, they picked up that idea and ran with it, because I don't want to wait 3 years in between every movie. And well, from the way that we had the original trilogy to the prequel trilogy, that was forever. And then from the prequel trilogy to The Force Awakens, even longer. So please, never again in my lifetime, I want to wait more than a year for a Star Wars movie. So our next story is, with Disney planning on releasing a new Star Wars film every year for the foreseeable future, one such movie the fans have been asking for has been the standalone Boba Fett movie. Rumored to be directed by Josh Trank, now EW has confirmed that the film was far enough along that Disney and Lucasfilm even had a teaser ready to screen at Star Wars Celebration 2015 in order to officially announce the project. And I had heard this before, but this is confirmation. And I gotta tell you, I don't think Boba Fett is a big enough character with a big enough storyline to really do a whole movie. Now, we've heard lots of people, and I love what the guys on Collider Jedi Council were saying about this the other day. They were saying that they would love to see Boba Fett in a TV series, and it would be all about bounty hunters and the underground of the Star Wars universe. I think that would be a great way to use Boba Fett. I don't really like the idea of a Boba Fett movie. I've been telling you guys for a long time, I want to see an Obi-Wan movie or an Obi-Wan trilogy, because I want to see what happened in those 18 and a half or 19 years that he was on Tatooine watching over Luke. There's got to be lots of cool stuff that happened to him. He must have left for a little while, gone on some adventures. People probably came looking for him. We might even see that in Rebels coming up with the Darth Maul storyline. Maybe Maul saw in his vision Obi-Wan and that Obi-Wan's alive, and maybe he's going to hunt him down, and maybe we'll get to see one of those stories in Rebels. So I really hope that's going to happen. But Boba Fett movie, not so interested in it. So our next Star Wars story is StarWars.com announced Friday that the mother of dragons herself, Emilia Clarke, has joined the cast of the young Han Solo movie in an unknown role. She joins Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo and Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian in the Phil Lord and Chris Miller directed standalone, and will include the character of Chewbacca as well. The movie is scheduled to hit theaters on May 25th, 2018. Now, there's a lot of things that can go wrong in a Han Solo standalone film. Like, they are taking a huge risk with this movie because everybody loves Harrison Ford as Han Solo. Everybody loves Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. And you are just like, if there's a Star Wars movie that could tank, this is probably the one, because if they don't get those characters just right with the right amount of swagger and the right amount of villainy, and they also announced that this movie is going to be very much like a Western, so a little bit of comedy, shoot 'em up. They're going to be probably smuggling something. I'm assuming that'll be it. So lots of cool things in this movie, but if you don't get those characters right and the actors aren't portraying a really good job of these characters, it could go down. Now you bring Emilia Clarke into the fold, whose real only claim to fame is being the Mother of Dragons on Game of Thrones. She's been in a few other movies, but her performances were okay. They weren't fantastic. She has been pretty fantastic in Game of Thrones, and I think when you get Lord and Miller in the mix, they are incredible directors, so they can bring the best out of an actor or an actress. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. I think she'll do a good job. Other people are saying no, bad casting, but I want to give her the benefit of the doubt because I love what she does in Game of Thrones, and I think she'll be great in the Star Wars movie. So our last Star Wars news today is Star Wars Rogue One will not have the traditional opening crawl text, as Kathleen Kennedy reported this week. She said they will reserve that for the big trilogy movies and have the opening of the standalone movies open with just their title and the famous words, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." Now, I still got to tell you, I won't know how I feel about this until I go see the movie. And I understand they want to separate the standalones from the trilogies or the saga film, and that's a great way to do it, is not have that opening crawl text. So you know what, they have to try new things. I am really going to miss it because I love that opening story where it really gets you into the movie. Like in The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker has vanished. Like, oh my god, okay, they hooked me right at the beginning with that one line of the opening crawl text. But you know what, maybe they don't need it. We're going to find out, because that's definitely what's happening for the beginning of Rogue One. And that's it for Star Wars news today, so now we're going to get into sci-fi news. So our first story in sci-fi news is, just like Disney and Sony did by making a pact to bring Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, some fans have been hoping for a similar arrangement for 20th Century Fox X-Men and the Fantastic Four. But unfortunately, Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige put the brakes on that talk during a recent interview. While speaking with Variety about the crossover potential, Feige said it's an impossibility at this time. So, you know what? I would love all of the Marvel properties to come under Marvel and Disney making all these movies, because we have seen some pretty crappy movies. Now, the X-Men have done a really good job, but the Fantastic Four has just been a miss every time they've tried it. And I think the X-Men could be a lot better under the Marvel and Disney banner. They're doing the big reboot of the X-Men, so I just don't see that happening unless Marvel and Disney really pay a lot of money to get those rights from 20th Century Fox. And yes, I think the movies would do much better under Marvel, but I'm waiting for the Logan movie to come out. The Logan movie might be incredible. The trailers look incredible. So that's all we really know for now, but we'll keep you in the news when we find out something. So, our next story in sci-fi news is a recent chat with Hey You Guys about this upcoming film Allied. Producer Graham King confirmed that the Tomb Raider reboot would be an origin story for Lara Croft. A lot of rumors had pointed to the Tomb Raider franchise going back to the drawing board since the recent video games were rebooted in the same manner. And this is exciting. I like the fact that they're not wiping out the Lara Croft movies that Angelina Jolie did. They're showing the origin story of it. So we're going to go back in time and see, I think they had mentioned that the movie's going to be about her hunting for her dad to see if her dad was dead or alive. And I love the actress they've got to play this. The name is escaping me right now, but I'm really excited to see this movie, and I can't wait for it to come out. So our next story in sci-fi news is THR has confirmed that John Wick co-director David Leitch will indeed helm Deadpool 2. The report claims that Leitch beat out Snow White and the Huntsman's Rupert Sanders, Cabin in the Woods' Drew Goddard, and Banshee director Magnus Martins, who were on the to-meet list for Fox. However, after Leitch met with Reynolds in New York, he got the offer soon after. THR also reports that Fox and the producers are currently looking for another director to helm Deadpool 3, but no names have been mentioned at this time. Now this, again, we talked about this last week, where Deadpool had to, Ryan Reynolds and the old director had to split ways, creative differences. They did it very amicably in the news media, and now Ryan Reynolds wants to get this movie up and running, so he didn't waste any time getting a new director, and this is a really good choice. I wasn't a huge fan of Snow White and the Huntsman, not Snow White and the Huntsman, John Wick. I'm not a huge fan of that series. I know I'm going to take flack for that in the comment section, but he is a good director. So I think that Ryan Reynolds is never going to let anything happen anyway. He's probably going to give a lot of notes to the director and make sure that the movie goes the way he wants. And I'm super excited to see Deadpool 2. So let's see where this takes us. And our last story in sci-fi news today, and one that I'm very, very sad about, is very bad news for Stargate fans hoping to see its return to the big screen. A few years ago, when Roland Emmerich and producer Dean Delvin announced their plans to make Independence Day 2, the duo also revealed that they were working on a Stargate reboot. Devlin revealed that now the reboot has been cancelled indefinitely. And this is not a surprise to me, even though I am super disappointed, because Stargate, all the TV shows, Atlantis and SG-1, not the one that we won't mention that had only 2 seasons, and even the Stargate original movie, I am a huge fan of that property. So I was super excited when I heard they were going to do a reboot and have 3 Stargate films, because it's a limitless story that you can tell. And But not a surprise because of how badly Independence Day 2 did. I'm sure the studio was like, yeah, if you couldn't do Independence Day 2 and how successful that first movie was and you couldn't make that work, we're really scared of what you're going to do with Stargate. So I think that's going to be on the shelf for a while. It may come up some other time if they can find another studio to do it. But we'll have to wait and see. So everybody, thank you again for watching. That was weekly show number 27. As always, I would love it if you guys could comment in the comment sections below about any of the stories I talked about. And I'd really love it if you could subscribe to my channel. I've got 47 subscribers. I'd love to get that higher. Please let me know if you have a channel. I'd love to subscribe to your channel. If you have anything you want to email me, you can email me movieguySci-fi@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter @movieguySci-fi. And remember, everybody, nerds rule the world.